going on, Dolphins? It's your boy Dillon. Got another video for you. It's Coordinator Thursday, so I got you the press conferences with all the coordinators: Adam Gase, Darren Rizzi, Dow Loggins, Matt Burke. All of them spoke today. I've already given you, injury information from my last video. I'll update you a little bit on that. It's basically the same. We've got a ton of players that are on the injury report. I think there's like 20 players, but, everybody's really good to go for the most part. Tunsil and James are looking promising for this game. Charles Harris looks like he's possibly gonna be ready. AJ Derby's possibly gonna be ready. There's, all those guys are gonna be game time. Obviously we want Tunsil and James for sure to be there, but if we can get, AJ Derby and Charles Harris back as well, that would be great. Tannehill's obviously gonna be out. They're projecting, he's gonna come back against the Colts after the bye. They talked about this Rashad Jones thing. They're just putting it behind them. It's all settled, blah, blah, blah. And they should, man. They got a tough task ahead of them. They need to be focused, and they got to be ready because it's going to be hard, man. And they definitely need, everybody, as many people, as are healthy to be in there and to help and contribute and get this W, man. Because if we can manage to, go in there, I mean, we're super underdogs in this game. I think, it opened up at like 7.5, I think. And the over-under is 47.5, I think, was the last I saw. But they, we opened up as like, it opened up as like 7.5 point underdogs. And, I think it's moved up to like 10 points, 9.5, 10 points or something like that, with the over under being 47.5. So they think that the Packers are going to score like 47 points, and we're going to score 7. It's like, or 40 points and we're going to score 7. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, so, I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, honestly, if I'm being realistic, I think it's probably either going to go one of two ways. Either they're going to completely destroy us and we lose, or if we can keep this game tight, if we can keep it close, then we stand a chance. And we can come out with the victory. And I think that, that's how it's going to have to be. I can't really see, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, I can't really see a situation where we completely blow them out and, walk out with a super convincing victory. But, so I think our chances are going to have to be playing, really sound football, try and win the turnover margin, play clean, and the offense definitely has to do more than it did last week, without question. If the defense can play like it played last week and the offense can help them out, the special teams has been lights out all year. I think right now we're ranked number 4 in the league for special teams. Jakeem Grant's the number 1 returner in the entire league, both on kickoffs, and I think he's like 2nd in punt returns. Anyway, so he leads the league in kickoff yardage. He's killing it. So our special teams is doing really well. The defense has played pretty well, for the majority of the season. They got hurt by injuries. They got hurt by mostly the injuries. I mean, especially when the defensive line started going down and we were having some troubles there. I mean, that's when the New England game came, and then Cincy, that was mostly offensive. We lost, our starting left guard, our starting center, and then, Tunsil. Once Tunsil came out of that game, that's when, aside from the bad officiating, that's when the game went south, really. Because then the offense couldn't do anything, and they couldn't stay on the field long enough, to wind down the game and to rest the defense and all that stuff. So The offense has to play better. I mean, that's the number one thing. And honestly, we need Tunsil and James to be in for this game. Otherwise, I mean, I hate to say it, if one of them doesn't play, we definitely would want Tunsil over James if that was the case, because that's Brock's blind side, obviously. If one of them doesn't play, then maybe we can patch it up for the week. That's tough. But if they both don't play, then the chances of our offense, I hate to say it, because I mean, that's the thing is that's what people aren't understanding. It's the injuries, man. That's been the biggest problem, and the national, or certainly the local media, but the media is starting to talk about it more because they've just been mounting and mounting. That's it. I mean, Tannehill's still out with the shoulder injury that he got in the Cincinnati game because of the fact, I mean, people don't often connect this stuff, but it really is connected, right? He likely, I mean, obviously we can't turn back time and know for sure, but logically, if I think about it logically and I play things throughout, in my head, and I say, okay, the reasons why, these plays failed and broke down, and the results that we got were because of this, right? It's because of the offensive line. The inability to run the ball and pass protection hasn't been great, right? And it's because of the offensive line. When we lost Sitton and then Kilgore, and then in the Cincy game when Tunsil came out, I mean, it was done at that point. That's why we blew such a nice lead, because the offense couldn't do anything, and then the defense just kept, they were getting hurt, they were having the defensive line issues, people were getting banged up, and then on top of that, they're staying out there super long and just getting worn down, and then on top of that, you throw in bad officiating, and we do stop them on third down. There were several instances in the season and in that game too that we stop them on, like the TJ McDonald passing, or the helmet to helmet, I think it was, or something like that. I mean, it was a bullshit call, and we were gonna come off the field. It was third down. We stop them, but nope. And then it gave them a ton of yardage too. It was crazy. So, when you stack all those things on together, that's what happens, but we are getting relatively healthy, that's why, man, I mean, just imagine, look, I know it's going to be super, super tough. The team is going to have to play their best game of the season if they're going to come away with a victory. And it's going to be, close. It's going to be, a tight game down to the wire. If we come away with the victory, but anyway, so, they definitely got to play their most complete game. They got to, because, I mean, we're struggling, and it's mostly because of those injuries, man. We're so light, people don't give Ryan Tannehill enough credit, but he does so much for this offense and for this team, and he provides us with so much, a much better opportunity when he's on the field than anyone else that we've had. Brock Osweiler, David Fales, Matt Moore, any of the other people that, so yeah, I mean, I agree we do need to draft a quarterback, and I do agree that, we need to, develop a young guy and stuff like that, but I don't think that Ryan Tannehill's the problem. And, when he's not in there and we have somebody else, everybody's always like, man, I want Tannehill back. They always cry for him and stuff like that, because when you lose something, when you don't have it, people tend to appreciate it more when they've lost it. It's crazy. Anyway, so, I kind of went off on a little rant on some things. I think that before I send you guys to the interviews, I'll just end it on this. I think that I'm always gonna have confidence in this team. I'm always gonna stick by them, and I'm always gonna, hope for the best. And I choose to, I'm like I said, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I think that it's more likely we lose this game, but I actively choose to, lean to the more optimistic side, and instead of, and like, I'll put it like this: instead of when I evaluate something, I'll go through it, I'll be realistic about it, I'll say both sides, right? But instead of just focusing on all the reasons why, we could or would lose, I choose to focus on all the reasons why we could or would win, right? And so I say to myself, okay, well, if we can do these things, then we can come away with this W, right? And I just, because to me, that approach is, it's a lot less stressful, and it's a lot more, upbeat. Sure, you get disappointed and stuff, but I mean, that's life, man, and you got to deal with that, so you still always have a choice on, if you want to be, all sad about things and all negative about stuff, or if you want to be positive about it. I choose to be positive. Anyway, so I think that the defense is gonna, obviously I'll make my preview video this weekend, but I think this defense is gonna come out. They're not gonna completely shut down Aaron Rodgers in that offense. That's insane. But I think that they're gonna keep it competitive. I think they're gonna keep us in this game, and then I feel like the offense is gonna come out, and I think that they're going to perform and execute better. I think James and Tunsil will be out there, and I think that we will come away with a very narrow victory over the Packers. And I mean, just think about it though. If we can do that, guys, if we can manage to come away with a win, first of all, it'll be great because we'll shock the world. The national media will be shitting bricks, and it'll be wonderful for 2 weeks because we go on a bye. But then that's the thing, right? So if we can manage to come away with this victory, that'll put us at 6-4 on the season. We are set up in really good position. I mean, frankly, even if we happen to lose against the Green Bay Packers, we're still in a really good position, because everybody was, at the beginning of the year, everybody looked at our schedule and was like, oh, that back half of the schedule is going to be super tough. But as it's looking now, we actually stand a pretty darn good chance of hitting 10 plus wins on the season and making it to the playoffs, just based off of the teams. So, we got Green Bay on Sunday. I think that, like I said, as long as certain things go right, as long as they can do certain things, which obviously I'll talk about that, a lot more in my preview video on Saturday. But as long as they can do certain things, man, then I think we can manage it. But even past that, then we play the 3-5 Colts. We go to Indy to play them, but hopefully Tannehill will be back for that game. Hopefully by then Derby and Charles Harris will be back. So we should be, one of the main things obviously we want from coming out of this game is to stay as healthy as possible. Keep guys healthy, because if we could, and then especially if we can come out with that win, then we can get healthy, really healthy, coming out of our bye week. We can go play a not very good Indianapolis Colts team, on the road. That's one of our road games for this second half of the season. We can come away with a W there. Then we play the Bills at home in Miami. That should be, obviously we don't want to overlook anybody or underestimate, but that should be a win. And then we play New England at home. Yes, it's New England, but especially if we have Tannehill back, right now Tom Brady is 7-9 going down to Miami. We have historically played them so much better and have a chance of winning. I think we can win that game. Then we play at Minnesota. Minnesota's a solid team, but that's another one where I think that, as long as we play good complementary football, if this offense picks it up a bit and the defense keeps playing well, that's a game we could win. Then we play the Jags at home in Miami. So, it'd be down the street basically if we traveled for that game, but that is home, so you know, home field advantage. That's a winnable game. And then we play the Bills in Buffalo. So, and you know, it's funny because that could be, you know, a very monumental game for our playoff chances, but we should be able to we should be able to sweep the Bills. They are a terrible team this year. So they're 2-7, I think, right now. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. We actually, even if we do happen to lose this game, guys, we shouldn't, you know, get super down on it and everything, because we definitely still have a chance to come away with another 5 victories to get to at least 10-6 on the season. So, and still possibly make it to the playoffs. And I hope that I can get you guys to look at things more, you know, half full than half empty, right? Because, you know, the glass half full as opposed to the glass half empty, right? Because the thing about it, man, is we have suffered a tremendous amount of injuries to very key players before the season started all the way up through now. And, you know, we're still 5-4 with, you know, a strong, most people wouldn't think so. The bets make the bet makers and the odds makers and stuff don't really think so. But if you look at it, we actually stand a pretty good chance of coming away with, you know, a winning record. So obviously 9-7 or better. But we definitely, I think, have a chance to. I mean, if we can manage to win this game against the Packers, then I think we have a chance to win the rest of the games this season. Frankly, if we can beat them in their stadium, then I think that we stand a chance to go 12-4 and win the rest of our games. But at least, you know, maybe 11-5 or 10-6, and any of those records should be good enough to get us to the playoffs. So it's definitely not all lost if we lose this game, but I think that we actually stand a decent chance to go in there and steal the victory. And I obviously would love nothing more than that for this week, obviously, and then I know you guys feel the same. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys get off to these interviews. I have talked way too long. This video is gonna be long, so I apologize for that, but I know you guys like it. I know you guys enjoy the content, and you know, obviously, you know, you can watch it at your leisure when you want, and you don't have to watch it all. It doesn't hurt my feelings if you don't watch the entire video, I understand. Anyway, so if you like my videos, if you like my shows, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want the alerts. Hit the like button. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. Also, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. My Twitter handle is on the end screen. And guys, I'm out of here. Let's keep our spirits up. Let's keep backing our team. Let's keep fighting and rooting for them. And let's come away with this W in Green Bay, going into this bye week feeling really good. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.
I don't really want to put a grade on it yet, but you know, there's still, like I said, there's still a lot of games to go. But they've been very, very productive in terms of what we've asked them to do so far, and have played multiple positions, so that is certainly a plus.
By our count, Darren, we see that they need 2 tackles this week just to make it through the game. That means that they're going to take from you in terms of one of your, I'm assuming, running backs, Bolden or
Perry or
Sonoris.
Yeah.
So how many jobs?
4 teams, and so as far as the actives go, you know, I've said this before, it's like contingency plan. That's what a special teams coach does. So depending on who the actives end up being, we're going to have a plan in place for all. We'll have those discussions. You know, we kind of have ongoing discussions, and we'll kind of have a final discussion at the end of the week and see what is the best scenario for us. But I got to have a plan if anybody goes down, and, you know, tackle, running back, safety, corner, whoever it is, we got to kind of have a contingency for all those. So we do. We'll have a plan in place and kind of see where we're at. But all those guys have been 4 core guys. The last few games, when Balaj, Perry, and Bolden have been up, you know, those guys have all been 4 core guys, you know, last week. So, you know, Perry and Sonoris have obviously got a little bit more time so far this year, Balaj, because he was inactive a couple games. But they've all been integral parts of what we're doing, for sure.
With how many 4 core guys do you have? And is it now a body type, or is it?
you get to this point of the season, you kind of have your ideal guy in the beginning of the season, but as we all know, when injuries happen, you may not go to ideal. You go to the next man up, and it is what it is. You think through the offensive guys right now. The 3 running backs are 4 core guys. Carew has been, since he's been active with injuries and whatnot, he's been a guy that's been a 4 core guy defensively. You look, obviously, Mike Hull is a guy that's, that he only came back last week, but he's a 4 core guy for us. In the secondary, obviously, Walt Aikens is a guy. Cornell Armstrong has been a 4 core guy. It depends on the game plan, things like that. But he has been as well. So that's kind of where those guys are the guys. Stephon Anthony is a guy when Spate has been active. If he's active, ends up being active this week, he's a guy as a potential 4 core guy. So you got about 7 or 8 guys that are kind of your group there.
They seem to be getting smaller. Is that just because of the changes of the...
Yeah, like in the beginning of the season, with the way our makeup of our roster was, we had a few more starters playing on a couple teams, and so that kind of knocks down a couple of the core guys, if you will. I'm echoing through the room now. That kind of knocks down a couple of the core guys. So it depends on, where we are in this right now with the roster. We've kind of upped our core players and maybe taken a little bit off of some of the guys where you may have a starter or 2 playing 1 or 2 teams. The more core players you have at the game, the less those guys. So it's kind of a formula every week, and it's never the same. It's never the same. That's the challenge for me. It's just never the same. And certainly not going to be the same in Game 10 as it was in Game 1. That's for sure. That's all across the league. So we kind of work that formula every week.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned last week about you went over something before the game and then it happened in the game. And from what I understand, based on what Bo was saying, you were yelling at him to get on the line or get off. I can't remember which one it was. Get on line, get off line. And so was the ref. How often does that happen? Where refs are calling out.
Refresh my memory.
The
Houston.
Houston.
Do you remember the Houston game with Tankersley?
Yes.
When he was behind the 40-yard line? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the way that the officials, when the new rules went into place, the officials changed their dynamics and their alignments. So now they're kind of watching that setup zone, they call it. So that 15-yard area. So this is the front, this is the back. They have one official watching the front line. They have another official watching the back. So that back guy that's on the 40, he's trying to help the guys out initially. So when you're just getting set up, he kind of gives you the friendly reminder like, hey, you guys, what happened with Tankersley was he started up and backed up. So when the guy walked in to say, hey, watch the 40-yard line, and then the official backed out, and then Tankersley backed up, he tried to yell to him real quick. I saw it as well. I came running up, tried to yell to him real quick. He just lost where he was on the field with his feet. And so that's what happens. To answer the second part of your question, there's certain things, I'll speak special teams-wise, there's certain things in the game that are unique to special teams that the officials will remind you. I'll give you an example. Field goal. They make that big push now about covering the long snapper. Usually the guy's in charge of that. Not every official, but usually the guy will walk up and give you a gentle reminder either in the beginning of the game. Some guys do it every down. Hey, guys, remember now you can't cover the center. Because, the officials don't want to call those. They really don't. They don't want to call the ticky-tack stuff. It's not good for them. It's not good for anybody. So a lot of times they'll give you a heads up on things like that. That's just one example. That 40-yard marker, that 8 guys in the setup zone is another one where they'll say, hey, guys, now you guys know you got to be in here, and they'll give you a gentle reminder. The new kickoff line rule with everybody up on the 34-yard line now with only a yard. Usually when the guy's handing the kicker the ball, if you see him talking to the guys, that's usually what he's saying. Hey, guys, remember now, everybody's going to be on the 30. Because those are things they don't want to call. And when you talk to the officials, they don't like calling those ticky-tack things. But in our situation, if you're over the line, you got to throw the flag, and that's kind of what happened in that one.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about your manual for NFL stadiums, how to kick in those certain stadiums. What does it say about Lambeau Field?
Yeah, you know what? Lambeau Field's an interesting field. Obviously, the beginning of the season, middle of the season, end of the season are going to be different times of year. You're certainly looking at the weather is always a factor there. What's the wind like? There's a little bit of a crosswind there. It's obviously a natural grass field. All those things will, play into effect, play into the stats. So it's one of those stadiums that a lot like most northern stadiums where it's playing totally different beginning of the year as the middle of the year. I would consider this middle of the year right now, as opposed to the end of the year. Middle of the year, it depends on what kind of day you get, the wind, all that kind of stuff. So obviously we'll get out there and kind of test it out. And they haven't played on the field in a couple weeks, so you're thinking the field conditions will be decent. We'll see what the precipitation's like, rain before the game or snow or whatever. Obviously the wind, the weather, all those things will play into it. But it's been an interesting field. They've had a very consistent kicker there, for a long time, so that kind of plays into the stats as well. I look more at the opposing kicker, so I look when I'm looking at Lambeau Field and how it plays in the middle of the season, I'm looking at opposing kickers. I'm usually not looking at the Packers kicker. Mason Crosby's obviously been there a long, long time, so you're kind of seeing how other teams have come in and how they've done and how it's kind of played out like that. So it's a middle of the road. Overall, it's kind of a middle of the road. It's not drastically good or drastically bad. It's kind of a middle of the road type of deal.
You're also looking at punters, like how many opposing punters punt inside the 20?
Absolutely. So we're looking at the same type of things. And then, on game day, you can never predict what exactly it's going to be, but you're kind of looking at a history of the stadium, how other punters have done as well, what their success has been. But obviously, when you get there on game day, that could totally, sometimes you can throw that out because if you have a crazy day. So if we get some snow or rain or wind or whatever, that certainly will play into it. But certainly we got to do a great job with the football and all those things. And we'll see what it's like when we get out there on Sunday.
Second time, I guess, this year that one of your guys got a AFC Special Teams Player of the Week award. Did they get an extra sticker on your board, when they win something like that?
Well, he got our belt this week, so we give out. You guys know we give out the Special Teams belt, so it's hard not to give the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week the belt. That's what I said, joke around, but hey, listen, very proud of Matt. I'm very proud of Jakeem. And listen, I think individual awards are great. No different than I said when Jakeem won his. He was. The other 10 guys that helped him in his situation were great. Matt Hawk, same thing. Our gunners did a great job last week. Our protection was very good. John Denny was very good. Solid game by everybody around him. It usually takes some help to get one of those awards, but great, great job by Matt Hawk. Obviously with the field position last week, really played a major, part of our game. I think the Jets' average starting point was the 18-yard line for the entire game, and not only after punts but kickoffs as well. So the field position thing was huge last week. So that's something we constantly talk about. 7 punts inside the 20 for him, and I think all 9 punts inside the 25, if I'm not mistaken. So really, just a really, really great job by him and our coverage. And one of the things we talked about last week going in is Andre Roberts had been, if he's not still the top punt returner statistically in the AFC. So limiting his opportunities, and then when he does get some returns, having great coverage and rallying to the ball, great pursuit, great angles, and we did a great job in both. Not only the punting part of it, but the coverage part of it as well. So certainly proud of Matt and kind of what he's done.
Adequate in your mind? Are you looking for more from that position, or maybe do you consider Jake or Wesley?
Ted's stepped in and fulfilled the role for us. Obviously, it is a big hit when you lose a player like Josh Sitton, and that's not going to be replaced by very, very few guards in the league can replace him because he's one of the top guards in the NFL. But Ted's played solid to this point. Obviously, there's definitely things we need to improve, and some of the stuff in pass pro last week we got a little sloppy as a unit and allowed a little bit of push that we need to get cleaned up, and we'll work hard. We worked hard this week to clean some of those things up.
Incorporating Balaj, is that something that Adam was thinking of? Had you put a bug in his ear as far as some Wildcat, which obviously he did in college?
Yes, sir. It's he had the one big game where he scored a bunch of touchdowns. I think against Texas Tech, scored like 7 or 8 touchdowns in a game in college. He does a really good job of that stuff, and you guys saw the explosiveness. You guys see it every day when you're here, but the explosiveness, he hit that run with it. It got called back for the hold, and I thought at that point I thought it was going to bring a little energy to the offense right there and punch one in the run game right there out of the Wildcat package. But then the way the game played out, obviously we had a package for him, there were more plays, and we've had it a couple weeks now, and as you start to learn your personnel a little bit more, you start to grow those packages, and sometimes you put it in but you don't call it for a week or two later, and we have plays off those things, and he's obviously a guy that can help, but we got some depth at running back, and we got 3 good players back there that can help us.
What's the biggest challenge the Packers defense poses?
It's a good unit. It's you don't want to take away from anyone, but those 2 interior guys are really good players with Clark and Daniel. They're good football players. As good a group as we're going to play at this point inside. So the guards and centers are going to have a challenge this week, and they need to step up and play well for us.
You guys won the game obviously on Sunday, but got 6 points out of the offense. How do you rectify that in your head?
Our goal is always to score 1 more point than they did, and obviously it was a team win because the defense scored a touchdown and we weren't able to. But we didn't execute the way we need to. At times this year we've relied too much on splash plays and not execution in the detail of those things. And when you don't get those splash plays and you don't execute the way you need to, you're going to get in some slug fights. So one thing that we've done a really good job of this year in those games is we didn't turn the ball over. I think in the NFL we have the second fewest pre-snap penalties in the NFL. So you guys know the old saying, to win you can't lose first, and that's what the offense did. We did enough not to lose the game, and the other two phases played really well, and we were able to get out with a win, and we didn't beat ourselves. So if I'm looking for positive, that's what I would say it was, because that's about the only one.
Splash plays, obviously losing Albert limit stat. I mean, He was your biggest big play guy in the first few weeks of the season. Do you have to change your offense because of that?
You have to change your offense, but we still have guys that can do it. 19 can do it, 32, 10, 11. Like, those guys have done it. You just can't rely on those things. You have to rely on execution and detail of your assignment. And those are things that we need to work on and improve. We need to coach it better, and we need to execute better, because you can't rely on splash plays to, score 28 plays off. You play a game that's 65 plays in a game. You can't rely on 6-7 plays to win the game for you. We need to put drives together and finish drives.
You feel like since the quarterback changed, has that made it more apt for you to look at no turnovers as a goal, more than maybe, previously with Ryan?
No, sir. I feel like when we first got here in the offseason, one of the big things we wanted to clean up was some of the discipline stuff, the pre-snap penalties and the turnovers. One of the biggest stat in winning and losing is the turnover ratio, and we knew +5 if you can finish +5, you got a chance to have a really good football season. We're at +5 right now, and we really do believe in the building that before you can win, you can't lose. And a lot of teams in the NFL right now, when you look at and you say, why do we win or lose a game? Well, most time it's the Cincinnati game. We have too many turnovers. We play 2.5 really good quarters of team football, and we turn the ball over at the end. And if you don't turn those balls over and you punt and you take a sack or whatever it is, most time you're gonna have a chance. It's gonna come down to the last series of games. So turnovers have always been a big priority for us, and they'll continue to be.
With Kenny and Drake, his versatility, how important is that, especially with how Albert Wilson is gone, and you have a player that can do so much for you guys?
Yeah, Kenyon's a big part of this offense. We need to continue to find ways to get him the ball, and not just in the passing game and the get him carries as well. And when the game didn't go the way we wanted, obviously, we kind of got off. We'd like the number to be closer or more similar in how many touches each guy has, but Kenyon's a guy that has a lot of flexibility, and he can flex out, run routes, and catch balls and do those things. But he's also a good running back from the backfield, and we need to do a better job using him. Make sure we keep getting him the ball, and he's a guy that can definitely score for us, and we need those guys.
How do you make sure that discrepancy isn't so wide? The 20 to 3 carries.
Yeah, it's just got to do a better job during the game, and sometimes each game's going to sort out differently. And sometimes he's involved more in the passing game than he is in the getting carries and doing those things. And sometimes it depends. It's based on other things. We felt the inside stuff we're a little bit better at, and Frank was doing a nice job finding holes and getting skinny and getting through. And not that Kenya can't do that, but that's Frank's game, and the way the game was kind of playing out. Like Kenya was getting used more in the passing game, and so it's something we'll definitely monitor. I don't see any discrepancy that'll happen in the future, but it could go the other way where Frank doesn't get more carries, or 27 starts to play a little bit, and so we'll continue to use those guys and try to put them in the best position to be successful.
How much was Kenny able to give you guys last week, and can you get a bigger package for him, I guess, this week?
Kenny battled through some things. I don't know that he was full speed, but I don't know if anyone in the NFL at this point is full speed. But he did. He battled and fought through some pain and soreness and all those things. So he gets healthier. He'll the package. There'll be plays definitely designed for him. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things, and he can win on deep balls for us.
Seems hard to be in your job this week.
Yeah.
Facing the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. You brought it up. That just
Sure, start there.
You have to do it instead of me.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge for us. Obviously, one of the great players in the league, great quarterbacks in the league. It's going to be a challenge. It'll be fun.
How do you explain what your vision was for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then what the execution was? last week?
Yeah, obviously with Minka, we're excited about him as a player and talent and what he brings to the table. So, we're just trying to find different ways to get him on the field in different spots and utilize his skill set. Every time we've done that and put him in a spot to perform, he's performed well. So that was the vision. Just try to keep finding ways to get him some different playing time and utilize. Again, we think one of the reasons even going back to the draft and why we brought Minka in was his versatility in terms of what he brings to the table from that sort of point of view. So we're just trying to find ways to utilize those different skills that he has.
You really good corner back then. I know you guys made that move in August, but when you drafted him, you were thinking, hey, if we had to, if things went wrong, we could play this guy at corner.
You have all sorts of scenarios. I don't think we rule anything out with Minka. Again, just every time we ask him to do something, he kind of shows that he can do it. Obviously earlier in his college career, he had some of that experience on the outside part of the field. So kind of all bets are open with him. And again, the more we keep giving him, the more he keeps responding. So again, play to play, game to game, series to series, we're just trying to find different ways to utilize him in the best way possible and find a chance to get him in a matchup that we like, or in a spot that we like, or in a call that we like, or whatever it is. So I wouldn't say those were in the draft, hey, this is a guy that's going to have this, play corner for us or be this for us. But that was obviously probably one of the biggest things in terms of going through that process with Mink, of saying this guy's real versatile and has a lot of different abilities that we can try to take advantage of. And again, I feel like we've all talked in here before about just the way the league's going and the passing game's going and the type of athletes you need in the field and those sort of things, that's a valuable weapon for us to have.
Matt, I guess I'll ask the question.
Sure, man.
You have a relationship with Rashad Jones.
Yeah.
And did you need to rehabilitate that relationship this week?
No, I don't think so. I think, again, I feel, I know Adam's been in here a bunch and probably spent too much time going through all this. We've had a lot of conversations. The whole defense, myself, Rashad, myself, Adam, myself. I think we're all on the same page. Again, we have a big challenge ahead of us this week, so we're really trying to move forward. And that's been addressed with the team, with Adam, with myself, with the defense. And I think everyone's on the same page moving forward. And we're going to go try to win a ball game in Green Bay on Sunday.
What wasn't on the same page?
Excuse me?
Everyone's saying that y'all are on the same page
Mm-hmm.
now. So the question is, what wasn't on the same page?
Obviously, there was some sort of disconnect. I can't really get into the details or specifics of how that came about. Again, I think anytime anything happens, I think the important thing for us is, again, trying to move forward as a team. We're in the middle of, this is hard. We're in the middle of a tough stretch of games we need to win. And, there's been a lot of conversations, again, at all levels, the last 4 days or whatever it's been. And again, I think the important thing for us is it's been a very transparent process. I think I'm on all sides and where we're at. And again, I think we're just trying to put it behind us and move forward.
Are you comfortable with the answer you got from Rashad as to why he took himself out of the game?
I'm comfortable with everything. I'm comfortable with where we're at right now. I'm comfortable standing in front of you guys saying we've gone through a process as an organization to address anything that we felt we needed to address, and we feel like it's been addressed. And like I said, I got a lot of stuff to get ready for on Sunday, so that's where I've wasted too much energy on a lot of stuff already. So my energy is going to be on getting ready for Green Bay.
What went into the strategy and the decision to implement a secondary rotation?
Again, I think we talked about, after the Houston game, obviously we weren't playing at the level that we wanted to be playing at and competing at. And, Adam and I spent a lot of time together that weekend going through a lot of things. So as a coaching staff, we just felt those were, there were just different opportunities. But again, we don't want to say it's a burden. We have a lot of good players back there. We have a lot of, we feel like, good players that we want to get in the field in different spots. And we felt it wasn't, obviously working to just stick with one thing and do, whatever we were doing those 2 weeks prior, So as an organization, as a coaching staff, we said, hey, this is one thing that may help some of the things. Again, we made a lot of other changes that obviously maybe weren't as obvious, from some schematic stuff and some little things that we were tweaking and working with. So, that was part of that process that we went through the sort of half-off week and through things that we addressed and said this is something that we're going to try to use to get some players in the field and do some different things moving forward to not play like we played in the Detroit and Houston games.
Rashad has been a leader on this team, at least that's our perception.
Mm-hmm.
Does his standing on this team change coming out of this?
I think he's, again, it's been addressed with the defense. Again, we try to be as transparent and honest as possible. And I know he's had conversations with his teammates and how he's going to move forward with things. So I don't see any issue with that.
Now, would the preference be to be able to determine at some point in the next few weeks which of the many roles you have Minkah doing now is best for him, or would you perfectly happy and think it's good to move forward with using him in many different spots as you did last week?
Yeah, I think it's anything, every week there's different challenges, there's different players you're trying to combat, there's different schemes you're trying to deal with, so I don't know that every week we would look at something and say, hey, it's good to move them around so much this week or what I mean? I think that's just something we come into as we game plan for a week, not just with him, with all our players. Hey, this week, this is what we're facing. These are the issues, the players, the scheme that we're trying to attack. Okay, how can we line these guys up in the best form possible to win a ball game this week? So, again, an advantage of having a player like Minkah is that he's able to do that and slide between positions. And look, again, I know this is all getting brushed on the rug, but there were a lot of other players, on Sunday that played multiple positions and that moved around and like that. Bobby played inside and outside. When we had a rookie corner get work for the first time all year, we had 2 D tackles that first time that we signed on whatever day, Tuesday or Wednesday, that played for us, played a lot of snaps for us, and so like there were a lot of guys that did those type of things as well. I know Minkah obviously, first round draft pick gets the spotlight, but there were a lot of guys that moved some spots and did some different things, and new players that stepped up for us on Sunday also. So I mean that's kind of where we're at. Every week we're going to try to find, hey, these are the guys that are available to us this week, and where can we line those guys up to best try to win a ball game.
Do you feel like as a defense your best ball is still ahead of you?
Yeah, I hope so. Hope is not a strategy, but you hope the trend from last week is more where we're heading than the weeks prior. Again, it's if we execute the way we executed against Houston, then no, it won't look like it looked last week. If we execute and perform the way we performed last week, then we'll have a chance to hopefully put a decent showing together. So, but yeah, you'd like to think. I mean, it's whatever the quote is. Once you think you got to figure it out, you're screwed. So I mean, we're not approaching this week any different. The first thing I told the guys, on Wednesday when we came in was, last week we came in on Wednesday and obviously coming off the 2 bad games and said, hey, look, all I know is we need to go back to work. Here's some things we're going to do. Here's some solutions. Here's what we're trying to do. And we just went back to work. We went back to fundamentals, back to technique work, and got back to kind of our roots. And I think some of that showed on Sunday. So when I came back in yesterday, it was the same thing. Hey, we can't just because now we think, oh, hey, we're coming off a great win. We got to go back and do. The reason we got to Sunday was because of what we did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and going into that. And so we had to take the same approach yesterday, the same approach today. And hopefully that gives us the best chance to have a similar showing on Sunday.
You gave us a chuckle last week when you said...
I chuckle a lot with you guys, I think.
At some point you just have to learn some bleep.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cuss as much anymore. Sydney's not here, so she's not.
Did they learn some bleep over the last week, do you think? Or was that a factor in it?
I mean, I think it comes down to execution. Again, my perspective, I think the terms hey, something's broken, we fixed it, I think that's the wrong lens to look things through, you know what I mean? Like I said, I think as a defense, we focused better, we executed better, and the results showed. We had not many mental errors, we had not many, missed tackles, we didn't have some of those things. We had no pre-snap penalties, no post-snap penalties. We had the back-to-back face masks, they're kind of a couple freaky deals there, but so some of those things, the error in our game, we were kind of cut out. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's learning some shit or if that's just, hey, and again, we tried to, as a staff, our job is to say, okay, what do we think these guys can do? What do we think we can put on these guys' plate? How much? What schemes? What, again, physically are we asking these guys to do that they can or can't? And, maybe we found some things that we feel those guys can execute better. And we're going to keep working to do that every week and find answers to put those guys in a position to make some plays.
Now, we all have ego, we all have pride, we all have emotion. We're human beings, coaches, players, journalists. What have you found to be the way you try to approach not just drawing up good ball plays, but managing personalities, emotions, all that stuff?
Yeah, again, honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about me, so we don't have to get into that part of it, but I try to be as transparent as possible with you. Like, I consider myself a pretty honest person, pretty genuine, and that's how I try to approach things with the players. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm 15 years in the league for me. I think guys, to me, I've always found guys just want to know you care about them, like know you're invested in what's important to them, know you're invested in the team. I try to make that clear with my actions and my words, and I try to spend time with almost everybody on the defense. Like, it was hard, coming from a linebacker job, and you're obviously focused on a smaller group, and I'm conscious of trying to make sure I get around all the groups and spend time with everybody and make sure, I'm trying to have conversations about what I think is in their best interests. And I think at the end of the day, again, we're all on the same page. We all want to win ball games. Everybody does. You guys probably do too. I mean, it's probably easier to cover a team that's winning ball games, So at the end of the day, like, if they think, your interests are trying to help them be a good player and be the best player they can be and help win ball games and all the focus is on that, then those egos tend to kind of move to the side pretty quickly if everyone's focus and attention is on, hey, let's get better and let's go win. So that's where I approach things from.
How has this week, I guess, been for you emotionally? Really good week.
Last
week, this Rashad Jones thing seemed to center stage.
I mean, you guys know I don't read anything you guys write, so that's no offense. Yeah, well, it's just I don't have the energy. I'm spending too much energy doing other stuff. So, again, like, honestly, to be honest with you guys, like, the thing I was most disappointed about with all of it was that it took the focus off a great effort by all those guys that played. I mean, that was a great, just from an effort, like I said, just energy standpoint, like, it was, because it was, I'll tell Adam this, right? I mean, like, every possession was critical. I mean, it was a tight game the whole way, right? It felt like every possession that we were out there was critical. It was a three-point game, three-point game, like, we're going back out there, like, and just the energy and the emotion and those guys, it was cool, man. It was really, especially coming off of, obviously, like, disappointing performance the week before. So just the emotional part for me was like, I felt bad that it took away from, the highlight of some of those guys, that what we accomplished on Sunday. But again, that's 24-hour rule. That's the next day, and then we got to move on. I mean, this is not an easy offense we're about to go face. So I don't have the time to be emotional about worrying about all this other stuff. I mean, we have conversations we have to have conversations about, but I moved on. I mean, we've moved on. Monday afternoon, I'm looking at Green Bay, getting ready to figure out how we're gonna contain this offense. So, it's an emotional game, and there's emotions involved in everything we do. But in a sense, my job's easy because I have to focus on putting a plan together to go beat the Packers. So, kind of that's where I put my energy into trying to win this next ball game.
So you're saying, a couple more guys.
Oh,
True or false? Last
oh
week.
man, here we go.
Yeah. Last week, all the players in your secondary knew that there was going to be a rotation system on game day.
I'm not going to get into details of how everything went about. I think things were clear in terms of what our approach was going to be on Sunday.
So true.
That's my answer.
So why would Rashad be upset about it if he knows? I guess that's what's confusing to us.
Yeah, I can't answer, questions for Rashad or for anybody else. I can tell you, again, we've addressed what happened. I've had multiple conversations with Adam and everybody else in the building about it, and like I said, I think we've settled what we think. We've come to a point as an organization, as a team, that we're settled where we're at. And again, like I said, we're trying to put that behind us and move forward onto the next game.
If you choose to do what you were going to do last week, which is not play Rashad on certain snaps, are you fully confident he will accept that and go back in the game Sunday when called upon?
Yes.
All right, thanks, guys. Dal's next.
Juwan and Laramie, did they look any better today?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look. They're going to be sore and banged up until all the way up to the game. So it's going to be about how much better do they feel closer to the game when we hit like Saturday. That's really where we got to have an idea.
Adam, was Charles Harris back at practice today?
Yeah, he was limited today. So, I mean, it seems like he's made some really big strides here in like the last 3 days. I was surprised when I saw him moving around yesterday compared to watching him last week.
Adam, do you have any memorable Green Bay visits?
Yeah, I got a couple of them. It's been there a couple times and seen some interesting plays up there. I know being up there in Detroit and seeing Brett Favre play in extremely cold weather and hearing his balls basically when it hit the shoulder pads of the wide receivers. I mean, it was insane. You know, cutting through the wind. It seemed like we always played there in December. You know, and then I've been up there with Chicago playing a Thursday night game and went in for the first time. I think that was the first time Cutler had won up there. So that was a good experience.
As an offensive coach, you see Aaron Rodgers' his ability to scramble, active, just do things that make him so elite. I mean, when you watch film of him,
I mean, it's fun to watch when you're not playing him. You know, he's a hard guy to defend, and he makes it look. When I watch him play, it looks like he's playing. It's like a 7-on-7 walkthrough. He looks relaxed. I mean, he's just flicking the ball wherever and putting it wherever he wants. You can tell when he gets hot. You know, when you watch that San Francisco game, those last like 3 throws he makes in that game, it doesn't even look like he's trying. You know, everybody else is going full speed, and he's kind of just putting it wherever he wants. So he's always going to be tough to defend. I mean, even the older he gets, as more ball he sees, he's going to find different ways to move the ball.
What's the toughest challenge when you're playing Aaron Rodgers and there are those scramble ball situations defensively?
Well, the number one thing is if he gets anybody behind the defense, he can throw it a mile, and it's going to get there in a hurry. So, I mean, you have to try to keep everybody in front, and just when he gets loose, you got to pursue and try to put pressure on him to where he has to get rid of it, and then you really got to work that thing top down. You just can't let anybody get behind you.
Can you clarify on James and Tunsil? Do you mean that you think they're going to play, but they're going to have to play hurt, basically?
Well, I mean, I got to see how they're going to feel on game day. You know, I mean, they could get light years better in the next 2 days, and they could be like, I'm great, ready to go. I mean, they could not feel great and say they can't go.
As of today, you plan on having them?
I don't know. We got every scenario covered. Whether we got 1, 2, neither one, we'll figure it out.
How much of what happened on Sunday with the defense is stuff that you can build on?
Well, I think all of it. You know, I think that they did a good job of playing as a group, you know, all 3 levels. And that's really the key, playing team defense, and, you know, that's where turnovers can come, sacks, you know, negative rushes, all those type of things. You know, all it takes is one guy to be wrong, and that's where an explosive play can occur. So I think they can build on that, and hopefully we'll just keep getting better.
You talked to Monday about communication between Matt and the players. What needs to improve there?
I think they're good. I mean, those guys, we got everything that we need to get straightened out with all of us. Completely, really knocked out, moved on. You know, I think it was. Sometimes you have to go through all this kind of stuff during a season. And that's what happens. I mean, the only difference between what happens, you know, a lot of times in the league and sometimes it gets aired out publicly. That's the hardest thing about the NFL sometimes, and you got to bounce back, and we're all moving on. We got what we need fixed, and moving on to the next game.
How would you describe in general the communication that you want to occur both ways, coach to player, player to coach, that in general what you want to see and hear?
Well, that's been great. I mean, over the last 3 years, I feel like players aren't afraid to talk to coaches. Coaches aren't afraid to be honest with players. I feel like that's always been really good, and we've never had any issues, and whatever Sunday wasn't a fun experience to go through, and it's over and we're moving on from it.
Have you guys, obviously there were breakdowns in the Houston game because players were freelancing. Have you guys addressed freelancing with Rashad, who's pretty much had a license to freelance during his career here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's like all freelancing, and some of it is we had some issues with tackling, like our open field tackling and stuff. We were letting guys get on the safeties too fast to where now there are a lot of green grass to defend and versus more athletic players. And really that's where our biggest concern was, how do we prevent that from happening to where we're one-on-one with a whole bunch, two-way goes with the safety, because it's really your chances of those guys getting those either back or receiver down are tough. And that was the biggest thing we wanted to address, was make sure those guys aren't getting free runs on our safeties. And that's really, it's more about like gaps, everybody being on the same page where D-tackle, linebacker, those guys are fitting everything right so we don't have those kind of issues down the field.
Maybe along those lines, a message coaches out to players is do your job. And Jerome Baker said yesterday, that's harder than it seems because your instincts tell you to try to do more. Is that a tough message to get across to players?
I don't think it's a tough message to get across. It's just when the game's going on and things are happening extremely fast, and to me, I always look at it as on defense, it's really hard because whatever they've shown on tape, they're probably not going to do exactly what they just did. So really, you're going to see stuff that you haven't practiced against, and it's all reaction, instincts, things like that. And if you do the wrong thing and it could hurt somebody else, and sometimes you think you might be doing the right thing, and it's just there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to defense.
How has Kenyon's playmaking ability and versatility help you guys in the passing game, especially with Albert being out?
Well, you can move him around. He can come from the backfield. He could be out wide. He could be in one of the slot positions. I think he's got variety. It's really about getting the ball in his hands. It seems like lately I'm getting kind of the checkmate. I'm calling plays for him, and then they're running the right coverage to not allow him to get the ball. And we just got to keep finding ways to just get it in his hands, whether it's running the ball, getting it quick, down the field, however we do it, we just got to find ways to get him the ball.
Obviously, the offense has been evolving a little bit with Brock Osweiler as a quarterback, but 6 points can't be a pleasant experience. How do you address getting more points, especially weeks like this where you're going to have to score a lot of points against Green Bay, or we assume?
We just got to hit the plays that are there. It might be 2 opportunities. It might be 3. It might be 5. Whatever they are, when we have the right play versus right coverage and we got a guy open, we got to hit him. Or we have to be in the right spot. And, last week it was minimal opportunities, but there was a couple there that it's like all it takes is one sometimes, and then it changes and goes in a different direction, then something else opens up because they start changing what they're doing. But when a team can just keep doing the same thing because they feel like they're having success, that's when it gets frustrating because what's coming and we're not getting what we need. We're not getting the production what we need. And it's about all those guys being on the same page, protecting, making sure we're in the right spot, getting the ball out. All those things really, that's where it starts getting to where you notice it, like, all right, we're hurting here up front. Oh, now we didn't do this right, we didn't do this right, and then it makes a big difference.
Every team will have conflicts between coaches and players. We've gone through the list in the last few years. Do you have a red line when it comes to players? Is it the body of work? At some point, you just have enough. What is it with you that some instances you seem to be okay with and some you're not?
I don't know. I never thought of it like that. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you for that one. Ask Tannenbaum at the end of the year. He'll tell you.
Do you have any feelings one way or the other about your next 2 games being moved from 1 to 4, 25?
No, I don't care. Whatever. When they tell us to play, we'll play.
With third downs, when you were talking about the offense, you were speaking about big plays, I assume, in terms of hitting those 5 plays. but third downs just continue to be an issue. I know you talked about staying on schedule with the offense, but that doesn't even seem to be working as well.
Well, we had a lot of 3rd and 5 or less last game, and I think we had 3 3rd and 1s, and we missed 2 of them. I mean, that just can't happen. You know, we got to be able to. One, we don't even have a chance to throw the ball. The other one, we just get crushed and trying to run the ball. So, I mean, we got to find a way when we get 3rd and 5 or less. I disagree with you. We've been staying on track pretty good. We've been 3rd and 5 or less pretty much. So, we just have to make sure that we get protected. Or if we're running the ball, we get guys covered up, give Frank or Kenyon a chance to get the first. Because really, that's all it takes. If you get a hat on a hat and Frank's back there on a 3rd and 1 situation, we're probably going to get it. So if we can just do a better job of making sure we give those guys a chance early in the down, we'll get first downs.
Alright guys, you've reached the end of my video. This is the end of the interviews. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you enjoyed my show. Also, as a whole, if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you hit the like button. And please share your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. I love interacting with you guys. It's for you. This is for you. You know, and also follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. It's on the end screen. My Twitter handle is on the end screen if you need to know it. And with that, guys, I'm out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.